If you're unfamiliar, this is Steven Crowder. He is a far-right extremist who has lost a lot of favor and made a lot of really bad business decisions recently. He left YouTube completely to go to Rumble. He was, to my knowledge, YouTube's biggest right-wing commentator with 5 or 6 million subbies on there, I think. I'm not sure. And now he's on Rumble with like a fraction of the audience. It's fascinating. Anyways, if you're watching this 5 years in the future, Donald Trump was arrested and got mugshotted and everything in Georgia. And that's what this one's about. That's what Steven Crowder decided to talk about. Trump mugshot backfires. The Hood loves Teflon Don. Louder with Crowder. That's the title of this one. And it's streamed August 28th. Okay. So I just want to watch a couple of minutes of it, see what he had to say here, and we'll go from there. While we watch, I'm going to play a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII. I'm just kind of grinding, drawing magics from creatures and stuff. If you're unfamiliar with it, it'll just be in the background. Shouldn't bother you.
Oh, I got all of that one. That one was a good sip.
Yummy.
Good sip, but my headphones are a little bit foggy here today. It's my fault. It's my headphones. I tend to do this. I don't know why. This is what I trained for.
Okay, people are laughing. I don't understand. It's like, was there a joke in there somewhere?
Glad to be with you. It's a little bit more of a regular schedule here this week. Last week we did a 4.5-hour live stream of the debate, if you're going to call it that.
I'm actually surprised that he watched the debate. So again, if you're watching 5 years in the future, there was a Republican debate that happened, and Donald Trump refused to participate in it. So he had his own propaganda, session, if you will, with Tucker Carlson, where Donald Trump just talked to Tucker Carlson about how great he is and how much he loves this and that and blah, blah, blah. It was embarrassing and painful to watch. And it aired simultaneously. Now, me having been in social media for like 8-9 years, somewhere in that vicinity, I don't even know now. We'll never get real numbers probably that really reveal like how many views or watches or whatever Trump got and Tucker Carlson got on their competing thing. But in my personal humble opinion, I believe that the debate, Fox News says the debate got about 12 million watches. I personally believe that Trump's thing with Tucker Carlson got about 3 or 4 million watches. But, like I said, we'll never know for sure because we have to rely on other people to give us those numbers, and I don't trust those other people. So, anyway. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. As I was saying, I'm kind of surprised that Steven Crowder watched the debate. I thought for sure he was a Trump man. People who are Trumpists through and through were more likely to watch Donald Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson rather than the debate. There's no reason to watch the debate because they know who they're voting for, right? So the fact that he's even talking about the debate kind of surprises me a little bit.
A lot to talk about today, not to be deterred by their $5 trillion market cap loss. Target is continuing to indoctrinate your kids. Look, before I get into anything else, by the way, if you see this, if you're watching on YouTube, if you see this.
Wait, I thought he was off YouTube. I thought he said that he was quitting YouTube. Is he back on YouTube now?
That means head on over to Rumble. And hey, people hit with the YouTube dump button, be sure to hit it because I will use the term today. Dump it! Oh.
Fantastic. He's going to use slurs. Okay, great. That's really great. Thank you for letting me know, Steven. Why am I not surprised by that?
Just dump it really quickly. Yeah, I told them to dump it. I want to make sure they're on their toes. We're talking about that. Donald Trump can't stop losing with the merchandise of his mugshot. Who'd have seen that one coming? But important that I would like to really get to today, obviously it's a tragedy what happened in Jacksonville. Okay.
Right. He's referring to a mass shooting that took place, and apparently there were swastikas painted on the gun. And the guy was in, I think, a supermarket, And this supermarket had people of different, backgrounds and ethnicities and stuff in there. And the guy only killed the black people. In fact, he let white people leave. And then he killed himself. That should tell you something about the motivations. And, of course, there was a manifesto and a note about how much he hated black people and everything. Thus showing white supremacy being like basically a terrorist movement. That's pumping out domestic terrorists. I don't know how else to read this, Surprised that Steven Crowder even acknowledged it.
Okay. People will say, oh, thoughts and prayers, it's stupid, you need to ban guns, shut up. But
Well, that 100% agreed. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers are stupid and worthless, and I don't want them. You need to take action. Do something that will actually solve the problem.
I do think it's interesting to look at the dynamic between Nashville, what happened, where we had a radical gender theorist, and what's happened in Jacksonville, based on the information we have, someone who probably is a disturbed, a mentally deranged racist.
Oh, my God. Okay. So I guess again, if you're watching 5 years in the future, you don't remember this. A little while back, there was a trans person who committed a mass atrocity similar to this, except I think that one took place in a school. And this person was trans. I don't know if they were out about being trans or not. I think they just discovered it later. I'm not even sure. But anyways, of course, the right latched onto it and said, oh, my God, this is evidence that the trans ideology, blah, 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 whatever. But they seem to be completely unwilling to critically analyze anything about anything when it comes to white supremacy. They go way, 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 way over the top with their analysis of, people who do this kind of thing on the left, to completely ignore it when it happens on the right. Or they pretend that there are other explanations for it. It's honestly embarrassing and sad. But what I've come to expect from the far right, like Steven Crowder.
You don't live in a free country if you have laws, but if the laws are applied equally. And the same thing with the standards of media, right? We kind of have trials, but we also have trial by public opinion right now. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing with President Trump. Which, the question of the day, what would President Donald Trump, some people call him former president, some people call him sitting president, I call him sitting president.
Wow, okay. He calls Trump sitting president? He's all over the map right now. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. All I could pick up on there is that he apparently calls Donald Trump sitting president? Does he really believe that Trump is a sitting president? Or is he just like full of it here? It's so hard to know. This is just bizarre, man.
What would he have to do for you to not vote for him at this point? What would he need to do for you to not vote for him? And
That's a really interesting question, actually. You know what? He told people to comment below. Let's look at the comments on this. See, you have to sign in to view comments. That's okay. I have a Rumble account. Hang on. All right, so we've got the question, what would it take for you to not vote for Trump at this point? And he told people to comment. That's interesting. Let's check. Oh, here you go. Donald Trump would have to say on the record he's going to support transitioning children without parental permission. For me not to vote for him. We all know that's never happening. So Trump would have to move to the left. I think the point that Stephen was getting at was how far right would he have to move, not how far left. Obviously, we know if Trump moved left, he would lose votes. Yes. He'd also keep some votes, weirdly. But if he moved further to the right, I think that's really the question. How far right would he have to go for you to stop voting? And I believe that the answer is there is no too far right. I mean, he could be like a member of the KKK from as far as I can tell. And these people would still vote for Trump. That's my read on the situation. If you're getting a different read, let me know. What would Trump need to do for me not to vote for him? Answer: nothing, because if they were saying he did something, I'd ignore them. Oh, see how simple that is? They are the libs establishment who cried Trump times 100 trillion and I'm done even entertaining listening to anything they have to say. It only took people 3 times to stop listening to The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Why are Americans so stupid that they need 100 trillion times to learn? Well, did you ever consider the possibility that maybe Donald Trump did do at least some of the things that he was accused of doing? That there is some legitimacy to the accusations? You ever could knock that one around your head? So the dude says, I don't care if he did something really, actually, and legitimately. I'm not listening. I don't care. I'm not going to pay any attention. That's what he's saying. And then he goes through his explanation about a scene in Good Will Hunting. And so the scene in Good Will Hunting, you may not have seen the movie. It was really, really good. Matt Damon, Robin Williams. Fantastic actors both. Fantastic story, fantastic movie, fantastic everything. You should see Good Will Hunting if you haven't. Will, which is played by Matt Damon, he's talking to his therapist, who is Robin Williams, and he refused to open up to the therapist. And finally, he opened up to the therapist after who knows how long, because the therapist knew that he's full of shit. And he said, are you going to tell me what's going on in that head, or are you just going to hide the rest of your life? So finally, he gets a dude to open up and tell him something. And Matt Damon's character, Will, says he used to put a wrench, a stick, and a belt on the table and say, choose. Talking about his dad. My dad, I was in a similar situation. My dad didn't give me that option. He just took a 2x4 and used that. Sean says, Sean is the therapist. He says, I'd have to go with the belt then. Will says, I always chose the wrench. And Sean says, why the wrench? And Will says, because fuck him, that's why. Yeah, it was a touching scene, actually. It was a really interesting, good scene. I really liked that movie a lot. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it. But bizarrely, this dude is using Good Will Hunting as an example of why he's going to vote for Donald Trump rather than literally anybody else. We're not even saying vote for Biden over Trump. The question was, what would it take for you to vote for Trump over the people that agree with Trump, like Vivek Ramaswamy, or Vivek is how it's pronounced, Vivek Ramaswamy, or anybody else? It's just bizarre to me that so is he saying in this analogy that Trump is bad and he knows Trump is bad? In fact, he knows Trump is the worst option you could choose, but he's going to choose it anyways because fuck them, that's why? I mean, that's what he just said, right? Am I misreading? So Steven Crowder asked these people to tell him why they would vote for Trump over anybody else, or what it would take, or whatever. And these people are saying, I would never vote for anybody over Trump. Never, no matter what. Even if he was beating me with a wrench, I would take it and vote for him anyways. That's basically what they're saying, right? That's psychotic, isn't it? I don't know how else to read it. That's psychotic. I mean, I get, you know what? When you're in this type of situation that Will was in Good Will Hunting, the kid where the dad puts down a belt, a wrench, and I don't remember. Belt, a wrench, and a stick. Says choose. I 100% get choosing the wrench over anything else because it's like a sign of defiance, It's like the person is trying to force you to be in a God, I'm trying to think about how to phrase that. It's like the person is trying to force you to take part in the misery that they're about to inflict. And what do you choose? You don't choose the easiest way. You choose the hardest way because you know that that's what that person wanted anyways. And you're not going to take part in your misery. You're going to be defiant. I forget. There's a name for what I'm about to describe. I don't remember the name of it, but when I lived with my dad, I'm sure a lot of people know my dad was terribly abusive, really, really bad. Most people who watch my channel probably know that, but he used to do this thing where he would stare me down, stare me in the eyes, and force me to look away. So I learned to not look away. I would stare him in the eyes too, stare right back until he was the one that looked away. I was not going to be the one to look away because I was going to be defiant. And when that didn't work out, he would tell me to sit down, and I'd sit down. He'd say, "Now stand up." I'd stand up. He'd say, "Now sit down." You know, he'd yell it. "Stand up. Sit down. What are you doing? Sit down. Stand up." You know, that kind of thing. That's what my dad would do. Defiance would be refusing to take part and handing him the wrench. That's basically the point of that whole scene in Good Will Hunting. This guy bastardized it into protecting a criminal who takes advantage of everybody in his life, including the guy who wrote this. Do you think Trump gives a shit about you? You think he ever did? No, not even for a second. Trump would throw this dude under the bus the moment it was convenient. This guy here is taking a fictional situation that people really deal with and applying it to real life. A situation in which I don't know if this guy dealt with this or not, but it's like he's got Stockholm syndrome with Trump, is what it seems like. Sounds worse than the military, says Ponderous Nerve. Yeah, my dad was in the military, so that's probably where he got it. I have no idea. Like I said, there's a name for that. I don't remember what the name is of the thing that my dad was doing. Where you tell somebody to sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up. You can't easily continue to look somebody in the eyes after you're sitting down and standing up a whole bunch. So that was his way of getting around that. For the record, my dad, he was, he did a lot of really fucked up stuff. And, and things that were not appropriate for him to do as a Jehovah's Witness. Like he would swear at us. He'd scream swears at us a lot, Sit the down, that kind of thing, But he had a really up life. I mean, a childhood that is so horrific that, you know what? I'll just give you a little idea of what my dad went through. My dad's dead now. He died a couple years ago. And he didn't even get, like, a funeral. They cremated his body. Cost like $80. And then they spread it. My brother did this. My brother we all pitched in and helped pay for it or whatever. But we got him cremated, and then my brother took his ashes out to West Virginia and spread them out. And that was it. Didn't even get a funeral. Because he was so disliked. But you know what? When my dad was little, there was somebody in his life that was sexually abusing him terribly. About 13 years old. 13 to 15. Maybe 11 to 15. I'm not sure. And it was a handyman that worked with his grandmother who took care of him because his mother, when my dad was 5 years old, his mom poisoned him. And that poison destroyed his kidneys. My dad had kidney problems ever since. She poisoned him and she took off. She ran. Probably antifreeze is my guess. I don't know. But ever since then, my dad pissed himself a lot because, he had problems as a result of that poison for his entire life. He eventually got control of, all of that stuff as he got older, so that wasn't really an issue when I was little or whatever. But when he was growing up with his grandmother, because his mother abandoned him after poisoning him, a handyman was around and would pay my grandmother, or I'm sorry, my dad's grandmother, my great-grandmother, would pay her for my dad to work for him, help with plumbing, carpentry, that type of deal. And, my grandmother's, or my great-grandmother, she's like, yeah, of course, not going to turn that down. Free money, right? So they used my dad's labor to make money for my great-grandmother. And my dad described to me, after I got a little bit older, that he was taken advantage of by this person for many years. I don't know exactly how old he was, actually. But he was a child, a very young child, and incapable of defending himself or understanding what was happening at all. Could have been, so he was poisoned at 5, taken into the care of Granny, his grandmother, after that. And then his father flew, he was a pilot for some Saudi something or other, so he was not around a whole lot after that. But the handyman must have came around at the age of about 7 or 8. And then by the age of 15, my dad had kind of left. I think he went with my Aunt Helen, my dad's Aunt Helen. He's taken by the state. And my Aunt Helen went to court to fight for the right to have him, to keep him in her custody rather than leaving him as a foster child or a ward of the state or whatever. My Aunt Helen went to fight for him, and she was a good person, genuinely good person. Imagine what you have to go through in the 1960s for the state to say, wow, that's f***ed up, and take you away and place you in foster care. Imagine what he had to have gone through. So anyways, that happened at about 13, I think. 14 when he went over to my Aunt Helen. So this must have happened from the age of 8 to 13 when he was taken advantage of by this handyman. Only the even more messed up part about it is it wasn't just the handyman. My dad described to me, I was an adult when he described this stuff to me. My dad described going with the handyman to help him fix some plumbing or whatever. And then, leaving the house with him and then waking up the next morning with no clothes on next to some dude in a bed. That's the kind of shit that my dad went through. So, yeah, my dad was a f***ed up individual. He did some real f***ed up stuff to me. But he never did that. He never did that to any of his kids. A lot of the time, when you experience something like that, you carry the abuse on. You perpetuate it. My dad didn't. You have to give respect where respect's due, right? At least my dad didn't continue that cycle of abuse. And he never used a switch on us. Basically like a stick that whips. He never used that. He used a 2x4, but he never used a switch because a switch was used on him. You got to understand that the dude was just f***ed up from what he experienced when he was little. Presumably between the ages of 7 and 12. I don't know exactly how old he was, and I can't exactly ask him now. He's dead, but it doesn't excuse what he did to me or my siblings. But, at least he didn't perpetuate that. And it kind of gives a little bit of context for where all of that anger and viciousness and pure psychosis came from. My 5th grade teacher liked to stare people down, too. Exactly the same way that my dad did. So you know what I did? I got used to my dad doing that shit. And I stared my 5th grade teacher down until I got fucking tunnel vision. She was gonna be the first one to look away. She was. she's going to be the first one to look away. And as a matter of fact, that's how it went. She looked away first. So, her, that's why. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is absolutely psychotic. Basically, the answer to Steven's question is Trump would have to move to the left, or absolutely nothing would move me away from Donald Trump. Anyway, let's keep listening here.
Which the question of the day, what would President Donald Trump, some people call him former president, some people call him sitting president, I call him sitting president, what would he have to do for you to not vote for him at this point? What would he need to do for you to not vote for him? And I don't just mean in the primary. You can vote for whoever, I mean in the general.
You read my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about in the general. Vote against him. So what would it take for you to vote against him in the general? That kind of changes it a little bit. Fascinating.
We'll be talking about that and more. Gerald, a number 2. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. I'm happy to be back, and this is a normal week. Last week was a little crazy, but it was fun.
Man, I was trying to bring the energy up because it's Monday morning, and you went straight to NPR News Update.
I'm doing fine, Stephen. How are you? Did you have a good weekend?
We're going today to the Poughkeepsie Playhouse to hear this jazz funk afro duo.
That's a thing?
I don't know. I listen to NPR because, I love state-run media.
Ah, there you go.
NPR is not state-run media. It's independent media that gets less than 1% of its funding from government grants. That's it. But again, he's got to propagandize, so propagandist's going to propagandize, I suppose, right?
So you're doing well.
I'm doing fine.
Prickly?
Yeah, no, I'm doing fine.
Okay.
It was a very, very... Do you guys ever do this? I had a really, really boring weekend where because plans were kind of, mixed up.
Right.
So I made sure that I just sat around the house doing nothing. So by the end, I was like a caged animal going, I want to go back to work. Yeah, and now I don't.
Oh, I love my work. I love it to death, dude. Yeah, if I'm ever in a situation where like I'm not streaming for some period of time and talking to you guys, hanging out and whatever, oh, I go nuts, dude. It's hard to like not be here chatting with you, not analyzing, crazies and stuff like that. It's difficult. I can't stand it. I would never want to take a vacation. I mean, I have taken vacations and I've gone places, but I would never want to take a vacation as in stop streaming for a week and just stay home and relax. That's not my idea of relaxing. You know what my idea of relaxing is? Streaming, hanging out with you guys, chatting. That's what I love doing. So I kind of understand what Steven Crowder is saying here, but at the same time, I don't really, because I feel like he's saying that he hates his job. He loves his job, but he hates his job. I just plain love my job. I'm just so glad that I get to hang out with you guys and talk and just do whatever. It's fantastic. I just love it. I'm so lucky to be able to just hang out with you guys and chat, I just love it.
Where because plans were kind of, mixed up.
Right.
So I made sure that I just sat around the house doing nothing. So by the end, I was like a caged animal going, I want to go back to work. Yeah, and now I don't. And in third chair, when you hear this, you know who it is. You love him. He's going to be this Saturday, September 23rd at the Rosalind Theater in Rosalind, Washington.
Yep, okay, we're skipping past. I'm not going to give this dude free advertising. Let's keep listening here. Let me skip forward and... Oh, Rumble has different controls than YouTube, apparently.
Harold, get excited.
Look at you. Look at him all color coordinated like he's the fatigue 3-6 mafia.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he's a comedian, apparently, ? And also, that feels like it was racist, but I don't know how or what it was he actually meant, so...
360-pound mafia, mate. I look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I realized I'm dressed like...
Zoinks! You can't find me in a bush!
He doesn't look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo at all.
Can't find targets, profits.
Yes.
He doesn't have similar hair. He doesn't have similar build. He doesn't have similar anything. He looks nothing like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. What the hell is this dude talking about?
Appearing like a ghost!
You'd think a target would help, but...
Velma's pregnant! Well...
And black now.
I guess it's the disappearing rubber.
Oh.
I don't know. I never watched Scooby. We didn't have it when I was a kid. We didn't have Scooby-Doo.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch Scooby-Doo either. Well, I don't know. I think Steven Crowder isn't that old. Alexa, how old is Steven Crowder? I think he's like 30-something. 36, yeah. He's 2 years older than me. He did, in fact, have Scooby-Doo around when he was little. I guess he just wasn't allowed to watch Scooby-Doo. I certainly wasn't. Anyway, the point here is, step back a little bit here.
Almost pregnant. Well,
And black now.
I guess it's the disappearing rubber.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, maybe Steven Crowder was from like a fundamentalist home too. I would be surprised if he wasn't, honestly, with the views that he has. Crowder is very, very extreme in his views. I would be very surprised if he wasn't from a fundamentalist home to some degree.
I don't know. I never watched Scooby. We didn't have it when I was a kid. We didn't have Scooby-Doo in Canada. No. And our Oreos are different, so are
Oh, he lived in Canada. They didn't have Scooby-Doo in Canada?
our corn pops. Canadians, comment below. Our corn pops are basically spherical Captain Crunches. I don't know why. It's a silly place, and I hope that someday we nuke it. Okay.
Whoa.
And I hope... Wait, is he talking about Canada right now? It's a weird place, and I hope someday we nuke Canada? Is that what he just said? I mean, I'm going to assume or hope that that was a joke. But with Steven Crowder, you can never exactly be sure, so yeah.
You don't want to waste the bombs.
They used to get all their weed from Canada, though.
Yeah, now they just get it from anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mystery van is...
Unless you're in a weed legal state. I don't know if you know this, so they ban THC from hemp.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know if you know this, big weed is always looking out for you. It hasn't evolved into another
Big weed.
big pharma. No, it's true. There's like 11 states where the THC from hemp is illegal. It's legal from cannabis, legal from marijuana, and those states are states where marijuana is legal because they can't tax it and regulate it. Comment if you guys know that. And, you know...
Okay, I didn't actually know that, but again, I don't trust a single word out of this dude's mouth. Even the most trivial of facts that he has no reason to lie about, don't trust him. He very obviously uses sources that are not trustworthy. So be extremely skeptical and cautious about everything. Somebody says, actually a bunch of people are saying that that's not true. He's lying. Okay. Well, like I said, don't trust anything he says, right? This is a prime example. Apparently, this is not true. You got to look everything up, even trivial facts. Look it up. Don't trust him. He lies for a living, for real. I don't remember where I'm going next in this game. I've beaten this game like 16,000 times. I think I'm going to my room. Yeah, I think I go to my room and I change and I go to a party. That's where I think I'm supposed to go next. Oh, but no, okay.
You know what? Right now, this is one of the few times I'll ask if you're on Rumble. Go and hit like on YouTube. This week we're going to be doing an experiment because of the shadow banning. So hit like.
Shadow banning because of the shadow banning. As if he's shadow banned. Okay.
Comment if you guys know that. And you know what? Right now, this is one of the few times I'll ask if you're on Rumble. Go and hit like on YouTube. This week we're going to be doing an experiment because of the shadow banning. So hit like on YouTube. We want to see how that affects the algorithm. Just as many of you, boom, go hit like, then go back to Rumble because we're going to be using that dump button a lot.
Okay, hitting the like button is useful because let me just kind of explain how the algorithm works a little bit. When you hit the like button, even if it's on something that's going to be like privated later, it doesn't matter. When you hit the like button, it looks at who else liked that video, and it looks at what other videos they liked, and it suggests the videos that they liked to you. It kind of creates like a network of interest, a bubble, a sphere. That's why when you like a Mario Maker 2 video or like a retro gaming video or something, it starts suggesting a bunch of retro gaming videos because other people in the sphere that also like that stuff liked a whole bunch of other retro gaming videos. Anyways, liking a video is really valuable because, you know, it kind of boosts me in this circle, basically. Like, if you like this video, even if this video is privated, you know, people who also, other people who watch me will get recommended more of my videos and stuff. But you know what's even more valuable than likes? Watch time. If you watch one of my videos from beginning to end, all the way through, then it gives me a massive boost like you wouldn't even believe. It's crazy. I've been asking people to do that recently. You know, just watch my video from beginning to end to get that watch time boost. And I've actually seen the jump in views afterward. It's crazy. It's crazy how much just increasing watch time improves analytics. It's nuts. So, anyways, liking is good. Of course, subscribing is good. That's really valuable for me. But watch time over anything else is more valuable. So if you just watch longer than you would have otherwise, preferably to the end of the video, that just shoots it straight to the top. Like, you wouldn't even believe how much good that does to a video, to have something like that. So, anyway. You can use that to help other creators, too, if you want to.
YouTube, this week we're going to be doing an experiment because of the shadow banning. So
He's so full of it, this shadow banning stuff. Like, YouTube is not shadow banning people, okay?
For your children. Remember when everyone...
Well, I don't know. I suppose it's possible YouTube is shadow banning people. I don't know. But he acts like a martyr all the time. This guy with 5.6 million subscribers on YouTube or whatever it is mistreated and oppressed and acting like a martyr here. It's just embarrassing, man. Really.
Yeah, that affects the algorithm. Just as many of you, boom, go hit like, then go back to Rumble because we're going to be using that dump button a lot. Because you might need to hit this for YouTube. They are coming for your children. Remember when
Oh, give me a break, dude.
everyone said that was a slippery slope? Well, it's really more of a lubed slope.
Ew.
It's an astroglided slope. Because, and if you have kids, they shouldn't be here watching this, right? We want you to see the evil that is out there in the world so that you can protect your family from it. This is not a G-rated show.
Okay, sounds like we're going to have to do some censoring here in the final edits.
Not a trigger warning, just age appropriate. Here are some Philly bike riders who get naked and, they say from the mouths of babes, child asks, and you know what? They're more reasonable than the queer party friends on the bikes.
Oh, yeah, don't forget, for full motion video on this game, editor's note, I need to switch to the full screen and remove the game so that the FMV doesn't show. Okay, apparently it was censored, so I think we're good. Anyway, on YouTube, it's safe to play. Like, if there was a censor bar, mostly... I haven't seen anybody, like, full-on naked except for one guy, and he had a censor bar. And he may have even had clothes on, and they just put the censor bar over to make a point. But I don't know, like, what point they're trying to make here, honestly.
That guy's riding without a seat.
Okay, this is just a bunch of people having a good time. Who cares?
Utah, give me 2.
They're all gross.
I have a question. Why is this?
Okay, so there was a kid that was sitting on the sidelines waiting for them to pass. I don't understand. Why does anybody care? I'm lost. and why are they laughing uproariously? Again, nonsensical.
The only sane one of the group.
Finish the question below. Hit your comment. Why is this person gross? And that person? And why are they all gross?
Ew.
Yeah, why did they why did they stop the video there? The kid said, I have a question. Why are they blank? Nothing. Why did you stop the video there? You didn't have to. What was the question? The fact that they stopped the question there tells me they didn't like the question that the kid asked because it was completely normal and not absolutely psychotic. It was just a normal question, and they couldn't use it to propagandize to the audience. That's my guess. I don't know.
And why is this man holding a saxophone, which is clearly a two-handed instrument, while trying to ride a bicycle? It's almost as though this is disingenuous, and they're all just a bunch of illogical degenerates. Right, Mom?
That's fair. I didn't even think about that.
No, that's not fair. Degenerates, really? You think these people are degenerates just because they like going around and having a good time and doing whatever they do? Can't people just live their lives? Why does Steven have to stick his nose in everything all the time for everybody? Honestly sad.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
You're not going to see Kenny G on a bicycle. I mean, unless it's a tandem. Sitting there, you can see the moment where he's like, and then he has a decision to make. Do I want to ride or do I want to play this thing? I don't know. I'm just really gay and talentless.
I feel like I'm like this close to understanding the joke. I don't understand the joke, but I'm guessing, this is just a guess, it was really, really homophobic. Let me know in the comments if I was right on that.
I've always got a flute on me.
Yes. Well, there was a lot of skin flute playing there, too.
Yeah.
That man is also master of the organ.
I guess it's not always sunny in Philadelphia.
No, it is
Sometimes
not.
it's gloomy and full of dicks.
Okay, none of this is funny. I don't understand why they're laughing at any of this. It's just, like, sad that they're laughing at this.
Assume they're too fat to actually see them, so.
Yeah. I guess because they're ugly and naked, it's art. If they were...
Dude, these people have to just make fun of everybody around them, don't they? They can't just let people live their lives and do their thing and, leave them alone. They must find some way to hurt everybody around them. Why are they like this? How did they become like this? How did this happen?
Attractive, it would be pornography.
That's fair. That's true.
Hey, there you go. No, that's appropriate. Hey, just take your kids to a strip club.
No.
I don't know. All right. No, of course.
Well, it wasn't like a strip club. People were clothed. People were just, riding through town on their bicycles. Is that okay? Can you do that? Is it now against the rules to ride on your bicycle through town?
Of course, don't take your children to a strip. I'm just saying, it's just really you know who else is this way? Ezra Miller. That guy should be. That guy should have to face the wall. Considering.
Okay, so Ezra Miller, if you don't know, he played the Flash, I believe, in a recent rendition of the story. It's a movie, The Flash, apparently. Now, I don't know, if The Flash was good or not. I understand it had pretty good reviews, but honestly, I am so ridiculously, obnoxiously sick of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Like, it's really, really annoying that they don't just stop making those stupid f***ing movies. You know why? Because I have to watch 19 other movies to understand what's happening in this one. That's very frustrating to me. Anyway, The Flash is one of those, I think it's one of those Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And so I haven't seen it, but Ezra Miller is the star, and it turns out he's like a cult leader. Oh, Flash is DC? My mistake. Well, anyways, it's a superhero movie, and I am truthfully completely sick of those. I'm filled up to here on that shit. I am done. All right, I don't want any more stupid superhero movies. But for some reason, people just go nuts for that shit. Anyway, Ezra Miller is like really, really destructive, a terrible person, and he's like what do you call it? He's basically a cult leader who's taking advantage of a bunch of poor women who didn't know any better, and it's just disgusting and awful, from my understanding. I haven't looked into it thoroughly. I should, but it's truly awful. And he needs to pay the price for that. Have a little bit of accountability.
All right. No, of course, don't take your children to a strip. I'm just saying, it's just really you know who else is this way? Ezra Miller.
I don't know how that applies to anything or what the hell he's even talking about. I'm just lost.
That guy should be. That guy should have to face the wall, considering what he's done.
I don't know what face the wall means, but okay.
And I was reading up on him because I was forced to watch this stupid Flash film, and I don't know how he's ever convinced anybody that he can portray a straight man. Shut up! It was on HBO. It's
forced. Thank you, Tim. That was a word I was going to hone in on. Forced.
It's the whole thing. Is like, I'm running really fast and I'm getting hungry. That's the whole movie. And then I'm reading up on this guy who has kidnapped people, who has of course groomed children who are underage, who has committed violent assault, breaking and entering. And I'm reading as Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair and New York Post, Variety, right? All of these magazines, and it keeps saying and they were arrested. I'm going, well, he must have like a really loyal accomplice. No, it's because he's queer and uses they, them pronouns. Well, lead with that.
Need to
Well, why would you lead with that? I mean, presumably this is a follow-up article that he was reading, first of all. And second, why do you care? Obviously, it's being used in a singular way. Are you, like, not intelligent enough to see when the word they is being used in a singular tense rather than the plural tense? It's like the words you and you, right? Back in the day, in the early days of the English language, we used to have the word thou, thou, which was the singular version of you, because it was too confusing to some people to have two, two tenses or two versions of the word you. Oh my God, when people say you, how do we know if they're talking about me specifically or people affiliated with me? We'll never know. It's too confusing. We must have the word thou. Hell, when punctuation was invented for the first time, the person that invented punctuation the leader at the time, I think it was in Greece maybe? I don't remember where it was invented. The leader who was in charge at the time was so pissy about the fact that punctuation existed because he believed that you should be able to communicate your point without periods or commas or apostrophes or any of that shit. You know, people will always be pissed off about the new thing. It's just embarrassing, man. Come on. Based on the context, you know what was meant by they. You can't possibly not know what was meant by they in that context. Of course he knew. Just ridiculous, man. Come on. He's looking for a reason to be pissed off about pronouns. Nobody really cares about this, except for the far right.
He must have like a really loyal accomplice. No, it's because he's queer and uses they, them pronouns. Well, lead with that.
You don't need to lead with that. The context tells you what you need to know about it.
carve up for his role.
Grammatically, it makes no sense.
By the way, these guys...
No, grammatically, it makes perfect sense. And there's a long history of using they and them as singular versions. Not just plural, but singular. There's a long history of it, so it makes complete sense. Your ass just doesn't seem to be able to grasp such a simple concept.
They're pushing body positivity and making sure that nudity is just a way of life. But here's an interesting thing. They canceled their after party, and what they said was, well, because everybody's naked and they're drinking, it creates a lot of problems. And I'm like, your whole thing goes away at that point. You can't have nudity be part of life. By the way, don't ride in downtown Philadelphia around all of the city landmarks where kids are naked.
Well, that's the point.
That's what they did. This was not out in the country. This was up, the Rocky Steps that they go up. Yeah. They ride right past there, and there's kids there with families, and they don't get a choice to say, hey, I don't want to see that.
They don't care when they're out in the street because it doesn't affect them, but then when they hit a bunch of poppers and shots, they don't want to shit their thong at the local gay bar.
Let me listen to that one more time, because I think I heard what he said, but I just want to be super extra sure here.
They hit a bunch of poppers and shots. They don't want to shit their thong at the local gay bar.
Okay, so what he's saying here is it's really weird that he knows about this little fun fact here. If you're not deeply invested in the gay community, you probably won't know this. I only know this because I know somebody who is deeply invested in the gay community, and they told me about it just because they thought it was really interesting. There's something called poppers. I think it's like a drug that you can take that basically makes being two gay dudes being together, it makes that process a lot easier. Or certain methods of being with somebody if they're straight also. Trying to think about how to word this. Anyway, the point is, it's such a niche thing to talk about, poppers. I can't believe this dude even knew about that. That tells me something. That tells me something about Steven Crowder. The fact that he knew what a popper was. And it's kind of working against the dude, honestly.
It's hard to have a party and getting drunk with those kids there and all those, you know.
I mean, it just ruins the vibe.
They should ride through the hood.
Yeah, exactly. See how that goes.
Yeah.
That's fair. If they make it out, I'd let them do it.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a live
Right
show.
by Meek Mill's house. See how it goes.
Like, I can't even really understand what they're saying here, but I just know it's racist or homophobic or absolutely terrible in one way or another. These people are absolutely terrible for a living. I'm going to, like, when I do the edits on this, I'm going to have to slow this down, analyze every word that they said to see if I should cut anything out because it's completely inappropriate. They have a tendency to be really, really inappropriate for absolutely no reason, just because they enjoy it, seemingly. Like, what the hell is wrong with these people for real?
Goes.
It's a live show Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, where you can watch it on Rumble. And, of course, for those of you listening on audio, you can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Pod, Amazon, wherever those things are, and you can leave a rating there. Is it working now, Toolman? Is it because for a while it was only uploading like every 3 days?
Yes.
It is
working now.
Like, I don't even know what they're talking about right now. I am so lost. It's so easy to get lost in this podcast that Steven Crowder holds. How did he get famous in the first place with such a disjointed, confusing show that he holds? It makes no sense at all. You know, in all seriousness, the reason why he got famous was because he's an asshole. The things that he says are really, really f***ed up and disgusting. And the Republican Party flocks to that. They love it. They eat that shit up. They want messed up and disgusting. That's what they look for in their commentators, and they found it in this guy. So it can be a disjointed, confusing mess as long as he clearly and distinctly says gay people are evil, black people are evil, blah, 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 whoever. Every minority group, go down the line, and makes jokes about them and stuff. Anyway, I don't know, dude. This guy is absolutely terrible. Somebody says 100% chance Steven has poppers in his desk drawer. That could very well be. That was just a really oddly specific thing to mention. Like, I'm not part of the gay community. I mean, when I say that, I mean, I know I have gay friends and I talk to gay people, but I'm not, like, in it, you know? I don't participate directly in this cultural thing. Of course, I would defend the gay community and the black community and the Hispanic community, any minority group. I would defend them to the death. Which, you know, I can clearly see Steven Crowder attacking them for what it's worth. But anyway, if they were in trouble, I would defend them. If they were being hurt or attacked or whatever, I would defend them. I'd protect them. I'd do whatever it took. And I feel that I do take steps to try to help people, to try to protect them, to do everything I can. I mean, that's my whole deal on my channels, to help people, to draw attention to absolute psychosis that you see from people like Steven Crowder, right? But I'm not, like, invested in the community. Like, I don't, like, know a whole bunch of people that are involved in it, and I'm not involved in the culture or whatever. I feel you have to be involved in the culture to even know what poppers are. So, anyway, I don't know. That's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This dude is something else, man. I'm glad that he's kind of failing miserably at everything. He burned every conservative bridge he had, Steven Crowder. If you don't know about that, on my main channel, Owen Morgan, I have a whole breakdown. Or maybe it was on my Fireside Chat channel. Anyway, I have a whole video, hour long or something, with a breakdown of all of the drama, all of the clips, and all of the everything that happened with Steven Crowder. Just search for Steven Crowder on those two channels. You find it. Or on my website, owenmorgan.com. Should be on there. Anyways, yeah, let me know what you think about him in the comments. I think he's just disgusting, truthfully. He's just disgusting positions that this dude holds, honestly. And I don't know how he lives with himself. Apparently, he's happy with his positions. Just sad.